Homeland Security says people who oppose abortion or worry about the threat of illegal aliens could pose a radical threat to America. They're the ones we need to be watching at Homeland Security. Why are conservative values suddenly being singled out as a terror threat?
You got a bloody right to say, right, you're bloody well right. You know you got a right to say, you're bloody well right. You know you're right to say.
Report from the Department of Homeland Security sent to law enforcement agencies across the country warning about the potential for an increase in right-wing extremist activity. It warns about groups and individuals dedicated to single issues like abortion, immigration, and gun rights, and even raises a red flag about veterans returning home from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Some people, understandably, when they caught word of this yesterday, have issues today. J. Alan Sekulow, Chief Counsel of the American Center for Law and Justice. How you doing, sir? Good morning to you. What do you make of this?
Good to see you again. Well, listen, this is outrageous. I've got the report in my hand. I've read it. I couldn't believe it when I came out. Bill, I had our office verify that it was actually correct. When I read it, there's one thing that's glaringly missing here. No discussion about the real terrorists, the Al-Qaeda cell groups and others that are located inside the United States.
It's all about domestic. It's not overseas. It literally changes the entire focus for the Department of Homeland Security has been doing.
Correct. And it says domestic terrorists, the most dangerous, are single-issue domestic terrorists. And as you said, that includes pro-lifers, that includes people concerned about the issue of immigration, and returning what they call radicalized veterans from the Iraq and Gulf War. Interestingly, the whole article, the whole assessment, as they called it, is entitled Right-Wing Extremism, Radicalization, and Recruitment. I want to tell the Department of Homeland Security, do us all a favor, catch the real terrorists. Don't worry about the grandmother on the street corner holding up a pro-life sign, or some guy that legally goes in and buys a gun for hunting. And returning veterans should be handled by Veterans Affairs and make sure they're incorporated back into the society. We owe that to our veterans. But to call them terrorists is just outrageous.
I think it's interesting you bring up the veterans, because this is what the FBI is reporting now. In this report, the FBI says, from October of 2001 to May of 2008, that's 7+ years, a, quote, minuscule number of veterans out of 23,000 coming home, how many are said to be linked to some right-wing radical group? 203. That's the number they're going off of.
Yeah, and there was one abortion violent act, and the guy wasn't pro-life. It was Eric Wayne Rudolph 14 years ago. Here's the problem with this. This is the direction. The message needs to be very clear here. The Obama administration here under Department of Homeland Security has allowed a new regime to come into place that basically says this: our focus is going to be on the right-wing groups, the pro-lifers, those that are opposed to various immigration policies, and they base the whole report, Bill, on this idea that we've got a new president and some people aren't happy about that. So they're using this report to stifle speech because they're trying to label all of us that are concerned about these issues. And I've litigated more pro-life cases at the Supreme Court of the United States than a lot of lawyers have. And this idea that my clients are now all right-wing radicals that are extremists and dangerous and the most violent domestic terrorists because they have a picket sign in front of an abortion clinic is preposterous. This is a flashback to 20 years ago. We won then, we'll win this again.
I don't mean to interrupt you here. I just want to squeeze in this final point here. Apparently this was mailed out on the 7th of April, which was a week ago. Now you take a look at what's happening across the country today. People are gathering in public places to protest big government without making a firm link to it. I mean, is it possible? There's a connection. This report comes out a week before it happens?
Look, it's a single issue. A lot of the media, of course, Fox is doing a great job of covering it. A lot of the media is ignoring what's going to be a huge event today all over the country. My own son's speaking at one of them in New York City. And I'll tell you this. They are focusing on single issue. They're going to say tax reform is a single issue. These are right-wing extremists. You've got some states that have issued reports saying, look at the people's bumper stickers on their cars and make a determination on terrorism there. The message we need is to be sending back to DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and I did a lot of work on the Patriot Act when John Ashcroft was the Attorney General. The message needs to be, do us all a favor, get the terrorists that are trying to harm the country, not the grandmother holding the sign in front of the abortion clinic.
From Nashville, thank you, Jay, for coming in today.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, 20 minutes past. Megan is coming.